Hey, what's up, you guys? As I said, I'll be continuing Forget Me Nots. Yay! Two chapters again because chapter 9 is relatively short. So, and they go hand in hand together. So, yeah, here we go. Chapter 9. Tom is an asshole. Part 2. Stop talking before Ed surplexes you into the floor. I'd love to see that. Not gonna lie. Okay. He didn't answer. Well, really, he couldn't. It was a bit hard. Here we go. Can't read. It was a bit hard to talk when he couldn't get enough air to actually form the words, or even think straight. Huh, could he? I'm kidding. So he moved his hand again, pressing it against the stranger's shoulder. Fuck you, and trying to push him off. He needed air. Asked you a question. Tord groaned, and his hand was grabbed roughly by the wrist and slammed into the floor near his head. What? Why is Tom like this? Who gave him the permission to be like this? Tom, what the hell? Okay. The action had by no means been gentle, and, well, of course it wasn't gentle. And now his shoulder and wrist joined the list of things that hurt like hell. Rip. Without the use of his left arm and with his right still useless, there wasn't any way he could get the stranger off of him. Maybe if he had been healthier or stronger, he could have tried to use his legs, but that just wasn't a possibility right now. If you hear anything in the background, that's just my dog being rude. I hope you can't hear that. Damn it, Cookie. He couldn't breathe. The knee drug dealer in the knee drug dealer. Okay. Good job, me. My brain's running too fast for me, as it always does. The knee dug deeper into his chest, and his ribs groaned under the stress. The hand holding the front of his hoodie was uncomfortably close to his throat, and every time he tried to breathe, he could feel it there, uncomfortable and foreign. The question he had been asked rattled around in his head, but even if he knew the answer, he wouldn't have been able to muster up the words. He couldn't see. Oh no! The face looming above him blurred between tears. Closing his eyes, he tried to focus on getting in enough air. He could taste metal in his mouth. This felt familiar. Uncomfortably so. He felt his heart. Okay, Cookie. He felt his heart beating in his throat. Even with his eyes closed, he could feel that strange sense of dizziness, like the word was spinning around. The word? What? I think you made a typo there, writer. Where the fuck am I? Like the world was spinning around him. I'm going to assume you meant world. He couldn't move. He could feel his body shaking now under the weight of the stranger. When the man had fist and when the man had when the man had first entered the apartment, he hadn't realized how much bigger he was. But now that he was on the ground with a stranger towering above him, he felt small. He couldn't get away. He wanted to curl up in a ball and hide. He wanted to. He wanted to. Please tell me that Tom is not the tall one here, because that is inaccurate. You know what? You know what? Have fun. You know what? People can have fun. Fuck this. Okay, Tom, stop. And just like that, the pressure on his chest was gone, and the hands grasping his hoodie and wrist were gone. Sucking in a breath, Tord's eyes snapped open. Gasps quickly turned into coughs as he rolled onto his side, hands wrapped around his chest where the knee had been pressed against his ribs. The stranger was standing a few feet away from him, looking no less angry than when he had first attacked him. But now Ed was between them, hands pressed against the stranger's fucking chest. Ah! Keeping him at a distance. Ed, who had already come. I probably sound like a fucking frustrated anime character right now. Ed, who had already come to his rescue once before, was now rescuing him. Yet again. Every time the stranger tried to step around him, Ed moved to follow, refusing to allow him to pass by. Closing his eyes, he slowly blinked before lifting a hand to wipe his nose. It was bleeding, probably from having his head smashed against the floor after being dragged off the couch. That explained the metallic taste in his mouth. His shaking hand pressed against the ground and his fingers dug into the carpet as he forced his trembling body upright. Cookie, can you please stop doing that? Stop it. Stop it. Stop. Thank you. You made me lose my place. Climbing to his feet, he pressed a hand against the wall, trying to ground himself on something more stable than he was, so he fucking wouldn't just crash right back down to the floor. As he did so, the stranger turned towards Ed and scowled as he spoke. Ed, what are you doing? Are you forgetting what he did the last time he was here? Are you protecting him? I'm not even gonna try to do these voices because it's been so long since I've done any of them that I'm just no, not right now. No. Nope. No. He sounded angry, but even though Ed was clearly shorter than Ed is the tallest. I'm not gonna complain. Then the stranger, he didn't look in any way frightened and instead remained stubbornly rooted between Tord and the other man, protecting him, making sure he was safe. He doesn't look... fuck. He doesn't remember anything, Tom. What the fuck are you doing, brain? If you calm down for 2 minutes, we can all just start... what the fuck? This is me. This is not how it's written. It's me. He doesn't remember anything, Tom. If you calm down for 2 minutes, we can all just talk this over like normal, civilized people. They were talking about him. Those creepy black eyes shifted away from Ed and instead turned to stare at him, sending chills running down towards spine. What had he done? It had to be something bad if the first reaction this person had to seeing him was to attack him. Did that mean they knew each other? Questions filled his head one after another as the man turned back to look at Ed. Breath. Hey, I'm not the one who blew up our house. He tried to kill us. You want me to just... Oh my god. Okay, I listened to myself and taking that line was just cringy. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm not the one who blew up our house. He tried to kill us. You want me to just forgive him because he can't remember anything? How do you know he's not just lying to you? What? He's injured, Tom. I found him starving in an alleyway. He could have died. Fuck. He could have fucking died, Tom. Wait, it would have been better. Oh, fuck, Tom. You asshole. It would have been better if he did. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It kind of would have. Wait, he was slipping. A few moments later, he was sitting on the ground, staring at Ed's back. They were still talking, practically yelling at one another now. But he couldn't hear it anymore. He did what? The question that had held his head... filled his head before all disappeared. I'm fucking this up. Disappeared at once, leaving him with just the horrible realization of what they had said. He had known about the wanted poster, of course. It was one of the first things he had found, and while it hadn't made if out of the alleyway. What? You mean it? If oh my god, that was you. That was you. That was not me, and I knew it wasn't me. That was you. Well, it hadn't made it out of the alleyway with him. What? You know what? I am very confused. It was the reason he had ended up in there in the first place. He had hidden from sight to avoid a potential run-in with the authorities. He had known he had done something wrong to warrant a warrant, but he hadn't known what. It was a question he had wanted to answer for a long time to give some clue to who he had been before now. It had given him a name to go off of, even if it hadn't been his actual name. But he had never really made the personal connection to what the wanted poster meant. He knew he had done something wrong, but he never considered the possibility he had tried to hurt someone. He never considered the possibility he had tried to hurt Ed, a lifeless body laying under him. Burying his head in his hands, he choked back a sob as he tried to ignore the images forming in his head. No, he didn't want to think about it. A green hoodie stained red. Focus, imagine anything else, please. Laughing. He was laughing. Not Ed, not his friend. Gentle fingers touched his shoulders, but he immediately recoiled away. Inching back closer to the wall, he couldn't right now. He just couldn't. The hand was gone immediately, and after a pause, Ed spoke up again. Hallway. Now. The voices faded away as Ed dragged the stranger outside the apartment and the door closed behind him with a click. Silence fell over the apartment as Tord was left alone in the corner of the living room, huddled into a tight ball, his back against the wall. It didn't take long for the small sobs to break through the silence despite his best attempts to hold him back. Oh, come on. I don't know. It was quiet. It was suffocating. I would say be a man, but men can cry. Okay. Yeah, chapter 10. Tom is still an asshole. Here we go. The quiet didn't last long. Forceful whispers in the hallway quickly escalated to aggressive inside voices, only to leap again to downright combative talking. Jesus Christ! It didn't take long before the walls of the apartment shook with shouts. The wall hardly muffled the exchange between Ed and the stranger at this point, leaving Tord to press his hands against his ears to try to block out the noise. Don't, don't be rude. Don't be so rude, Tom. He needs our help. I'm being rude. What about him? He's the bad guy, Ed. He can't even remember that. He deserves a second chance. Oh no, he doesn't get to weasel his way out of this one. Just because he's forgotten what he's done doesn't mean the rest of us have to. I haven't forgotten. I just... What... fuck. This is why I record in parts. Okay. One moment. And what if he's lying, Ed? What if he's just tricking us again? Just stop. I've learned my lesson. Even if you haven't, this isn't going to go down the same way as last time. Don't yell at me, Tom. Sounds like a little kid. Don't yell at me, Tom. Don't you use that tone of voice with me, mister. I'm not going to be the one to... I'm not going to be the one to leave this time either. Get him out of here or I'm going to kick him out myself. Tom, stop. The conversation suddenly screeched to a halt like it had crashed in a brick wall. Whispers started back up again after an agonizingly long silence, but didn't escalate any further. He couldn't hear what they were saying anymore. The voices were fucking too soft. But it didn't matter. They had said enough already. He had hurt Ed. He didn't want to know any more than that. What kind of awful person hurt their friend? He gripped his right shoulder tightly, his teeth clenching tightly together until his jaw began to ache. Maybe it would have been better if he just left. Even though the thought had appeared in an instant, it refused to leave. He had hurt Ed and the stranger too. He didn't deserve to stay near them. He didn't want to hurt anyone, but if he couldn't help it, what he wanted made no difference. Maybe it was just in his nature. Probably. I don't know. The door creaked open, but Tord didn't look up. It was quiet again, but he could hear the floor groan softly under footsteps. Was it Ed, the stranger from before, or someone entirely new? The footsteps paused for a moment, and the room was silent once more. The talking in the hallway had stopped a long time ago. Tord, it was Ed. It was Ed then. What? Okay. It's me. It was Ed then. That was good to know. At least, do I sound like I have a nose plug? Because I actually don't, but like my nose is doing that kind of weird thing in the morning. Fuck you, nose. Fuck you, nose. That was good to know. At least he wasn't going to get slammed into the floor again. The footsteps resumed, and suddenly there was a weight on his back. A blanket. With a thud, Ed sat down on the ground nearby and let out a soft sigh. I'm sorry about Tom. He's not the friendliest guy around. Well, debatable. There was a small pause before a hand came to rest on his shoulder reassuringly. A hand stained red with blood. Stop. Don't touch me. Oh, God. I'm sorry. It's okay. He's not going to hurt you again. He is going to come over later tonight so we can all talk, though. Okay. Ed sighed loudly before moving his hand to Tord's back and patting him gently. It's okay. Everything's going to be fine. Tord didn't immediately respond this time, instead taking time to grasp the ends of the blanket and pull it tighter around him, wrapping himself in a cocoon of soft fabric. Burrito! Burrito! I hate myself. What he said next was muffled partially by the blanket, but it was still clear enough for Ed to hear him. Oh. I'm sorry. The hand patting his back paused, and for a moment he felt alone again. But it returned a few seconds later and came to rest on his shoulder. Again. Don't apologize to me. Oh, that sounded very firm. Whoops. Don't apologize to me, Ed replied, and even if he couldn't see it, Tord could hear the smile in his voice. He was so nice. He was too nice. I agree with you there. Ed is being a little too nice. But then, the circumstances, I could see a little why, but I'm still waiting for that Ed asshole moment to come together. Because so far, all the assholeness has just come on Tom a little too much. But anyway, you haven't done anything wrong. But I hurt you, Tord replied, looking up again at Ed. His eyes were red from tears, and he felt on the verge of breaking down all over again. He didn't want to hurt anyone. He didn't want to leave. Yeah, but, fuck. I'm fucking this all up! Okay. But he already had hurt people. Just because he couldn't remember it didn't pardon his actions. It was a lousy excuse at best. Sniffing, he rubbed his nose with the back of his hand and looked away again, staring at the floor instead. But he didn't get long to brood before Ed pulled him into a tight hug. Oh. That's nice. It's very nice. He didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. He felt awkward. It felt awkward, sudden, and weird. Oh my god, mood! Fuck. A part of him wanted to get out. Mood! Reestablish personal space. Mood! And put up physical barriers against people touching him. Very much fucking mood! Oh god. Anyway, but a part of him insisted that he couldn't push Ed away now. He didn't want to leave. He didn't want to hurt Ed. He could trust him. Hesitantly, after a small delay of trying to sort out his scrambled thoughts, he slowly lifted up his own arms and hugged him back. That is not a mood, but that is very nice. He couldn't really help it anymore. Sniffing, he buried his head into Ed's shoulder, trying to stop himself from crying all over again. I told you, it's okay, Ed repeated, patting Tord's back. You haven't done anything wrong. Well, I mean... I'm okay. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't even do that. I'm sorry. Tord whispered back, repeating it over and over again until his voice grew hoarse and cracked. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm... Okay, he wore a red hoodie. Ed wore a green hoodie. Fair dues. The stranger, Tom, wore a blue hoodie. The three of them were sitting around the table in Ed's kitchen. Oh no, this ought to be good. And it was safe for Tord to admit that now. Staring across the table at Tom, Tord did not like the color blue. Just for that reason, I got beat up from a stranger who wore blue, and now I do not like the color blue. No, I know why. I know. It's okay. I know. I don't know what to call it, but I know what this writer did. I know what you did there. Honestly, Ed sitting there was probably the only thing stopping Tom from launching himself across the table at him. Every muscle in his body looked tense, and he looked flushed with anger. Tord could swear he could see smoke rising out of his ears at one point, but every time he looked ready to open his mouth, Ed would reach out and tap his arm. That was enough for Tom to huff, but turn away and hold his silence. For some reason, Tom acting this way doesn't seem right. I don't know. I feel like he'd be... I don't know, because Tom is a character that is... He could easily hold himself back from emotions, because he's used to that. But I don't know. You know what? I'm just... Rather surprisingly, it was Tord whose patience wore out first, and he who broke the uncomfortable silence at the table. Turning to look at Ed, he rubbed his right shoulder and did his best not to make eye contact with Tom. He seemed to get angry every time he looked at him. Now that is that is accurate. What are we doing? He finally asked, his shoulders rising to his ears. It was too quiet. Again, as much as he didn't like loud noises and booming voices, the silence seemed worse. It dragged on. It was never ending. It felt uncomfortable and thick and agonizing. Damn. We're waiting for Matt. Oh, you're waiting for Matt. Okay. Finally, Matt makes an appearance. Not yet, but he will. Oh my god, I kind of glanced down ahead and I was. Oh my god. Ed replied, which of course answered everything and nothing at the same time. Who the hell was Matt? Was he important? Why were they waiting for him? He's always late, Tom all but snarled, having taken to tapping his fingers on the table now. He lives right down the hall. How. Oh God, I felt like there should be a comma there. But, yeah. He lives right down the hall. How does he manage to be late every single time? Well, at least it was nice knowing that he wasn't the only one Tom got angry at. Ed wasn't lying when he said Tom wasn't the friendliest guy around. I mean, still debatable. People don't give a lot of credit to Tom than they should be. I'm just saying, he's not that bad. Thankfully, the awkwardness didn't last much longer as there was a knock at the door and Ed quickly climbed to his feet and hurried to go answer the call. Almost as soon as Ed had his back turned to the table, Tom suddenly turned to stare at him and in an agonizingly slow motion dragged his pointer finger across his neck. Okay. Recoiling slightly, Tord blinked as Tom looked up. I really don't feel like this is Tom, to be honest. Anyway, adopting a seemingly indifferent look as Ed returned to the table with a new person in tow, leaving Tord absolutely baffled by the sudden gesture. He wasn't given much time to dwell on it. However, as the new person he could only assume was Matt offered up a wave and a greeting to each of them. He was wearing a purple hoodie, but also a green overcoat. Huh. Was it deliberate they all wore hoodies? Why did Matt wear a coat and a hoodie? Didn't he get hot? I mean, that's me. I used to wear sweaters every single day at school, even if it was summertime. I would just wear sweaters because I love to wear sweaters. That's just now I'm less stupid now and don't wear sweaters in the summer because of global warming. Thank you very much. But anyway, I also want to make it clear that I know I'm complaining about Tom's character here, but I'm not dissing, how the writer writes him, because if it were any other situation, like if it weren't Ed's world, it's greatly written, okay? I can't talk this morning. I'm tired. Howdy, Tim. Hey, Todd. It's Tom. The man across the table grumbled back as he pulled a flask out of his hoodie and began to drink whatever he had filled it up with. Did that mean Todd was supposed to be him? Deciding it was better to leave it be than be wrong. Todd just waved back and fell silent as Matt joined them at the table, sitting down across from Ed and acting as yet another divider between him and Tom. Well, that was nice at least. From his first impression, Matt seemed pretty nice. At least he wasn't going to get hit. Hopefully. Right, we're all here, Ed declared, clapping his hands together. Let's establish some ground rules first. No yelling, period. No hitting either. And, Tom, no harpoons. What? Tom responded, looking personally offended for a brief moment before taking another swig from his flask and settling back down into indifference. Indifference. That's not indifference. That's full-on hate towards this person on the other side. Oh my god, harpoons? Was that really a thing? Was it meant to be some kind of inside joke, or was he really going to try to spear him with a harpoon? I can believe Tom would do that. Oh god, he was starting to feel lightheaded. Anyway, Ed declared as Toy lifted up a hand to rub his own forehead, we're just here to talk. I don't have anything to say, Tom replied immediately, turning his head away from the table with a scowl. Tom, I told you not to be rude, Ed responded with a frown. It's alright, Tord replied with a smile and a wave of his hand. If it's all the same, I think I'm just going to try to take a shower. You three can talk without me. It was better that way anyway. Even if it was only 4 people altogether, The crowd felt much larger and much more uncomfortable now. Even if he had taken a shower earlier that day, it was an excuse to lock himself in the bathroom for a while and enjoy space from Tom and Matt. Well, mostly Tom, admittedly. Are you sure? Ed asked, and Todd nodded. Todd. Fuck. And Tord nodded, offering up a small shrug. Whoops. Yeah, I think it's for the best. None of the other three pro-fucking tested as he made his way out of the kitchen and walked into the bathroom, closing and locking the door behind him. He turned on the shower quietly but didn't get in, instead letting the steam build up in the room. Tom didn't like him. That was clear. Matt was a complete and utter mystery so far, but he had only known him for under 5 minutes, so there was not much more to learn about him. It was strange to think at some time these people were his friends. At least in Tom's case, he certainly didn't act like it. He couldn't blame them, though. If he had hurt them in the past, the only thing he could try to do was get them to forgive him. That was the best place to start. Forgiveness. That was... Not gonna lie, I'm an easily irritated person due to my history. So I enjoyed it, but at the same time I didn't, because I don't know. Tom was a little too aggressive. I mean, if you want to reference the end, he did throw a couch at Tord, but that was it. I mean, he probably would have beat the shit out of him, despite Ed and Matt. And then Ed would have to get between them and stop them. Then I would believe this Tom. Or not believe this Tom, but then I would be okay with this Tom, but I'm not okay. But I am. It's like, it's really great writing, but it's just Tom's character needs a little work, I think. But if that's how you headcanon him, then just keep it that way. I mean, not everybody's going to agree with headcanons, and that's alright. Yeah, this video was a little longer than I anticipated, but to keep you guys distracted, you're welcome. But yeah, I'll try to get in the groove with things since I'm out of school now. So yeah, I'm done. Make sure to tap that like or subscribe button. They're kinky little bastards. They enjoy a good hit. Dork out. God save me.